Hello and welcome to another session on advertising. Before we start, let me introduce the expert who has prepared this lesson today is Simrat Gulati, who has many years of experience in advertising and has been teaching this subject for 23 years. And I am Shivangi Anand. What is advertising? Is it useful or not? Is it a boon or a bane? So many questions, so many issues to understand. We need to have a complete discussion to comprehend the subject. Yes, why not? Let's start with understanding this word advertising itself. Advertising is a form of mass communication, but yes, it has some very specific limits and conditions. Advertising is defined as a paid form of communication using the mass media to create awareness, to promote an idea or brand, or to create and build an image, or to inform or educate, or to change attitudes or mindsets amongst a specific target audience by a recognizable or identifiable sponsor with a delayed feedback. When all these conditions are met, only then do we call it advertising. Let's try and understand all these conditions. Any message or communication in the mass media which is by an identified sponsor, which we call the advertiser, whose brand name or logo or company name can be seen, is the first thing to look for. So messages from soft drinks or tire companies promoting themselves or their products are ads. Next, this message must appear in the mass media like newspaper, TV, radio, hoarding, etc. and the sponsor pays for using the media, so that's how it's a paid form of communication. The space in print or hoarding or the time on TV or radio is bought at a predetermined rate, so then it is advertising. There is a purpose of giving the message and it could be of different kinds. We could be introducing a new brand or idea. We could be getting people to understand the features or benefits of a product like a toothpaste or car. We could be trying to create or build an image for a brand or even a person. We could be trying to change people's thinking like their mindset about HIV or child labor. So the message will try to do this and it will be directed at a particular set of people who need this kind of a message. So that is what is the TA or target audience. It's the TA that helps us decide what our message is to do. Do the people need to be informed, or maybe they need to be educated about the concept or brand, or they need to change their mindset or attitude regarding it. So much for giving the message. Now this message will make an impact and there will be a reaction to it, or we will get the feedback from the audience. But it will take time for this. Creating a change in attitude or getting people to understand the information given all takes time, and we get to know the effect of the message. The feedback only after some time, while so we find that it's a delayed feedback. This is what advertising is all about. Okay, now we know that advertising is, but there are so many other issues related to it that we need to look into. For many people, advertising is self-promotion, so it's an ad on cost to the brand or it's a waste of money. For some people, advertising just raises aspirations and creates false demand. Others think that it fools people and misleads them, so advertising is a bad thing. Let's understand this subject a little more, and a lot of these doubts will get cleared. To make ads and to get them published in the media requires a whole set of professionals, technicians and skills. So actually, advertising is an industry in the economy. Any industry or business contributes to economic growth. In this case, it creates employment for many and is a very important activity in any business. So we find that advertising is a major contributor to the economy. Advertising is needed by any business to announce itself and to let the consumer know about itself. This quote by David Ogilvy explains a lot of this. Remove advertising, disable a person or firm from proclaiming its wares and their merits, and the whole of society and of the economy is transformed. The enemies of advertising are the enemies of freedom. David Ogilvy, advertising is economically very efficient in communicating and announcing any economic activity. The mass communication feature of the message creates this efficiency. In one go or with one message, we are able to reach out to a large number of people and inform them about what we are wanting to say or what we are doing in our business. Try reaching out to people individually, how long it will take. How much of time and effort will be put in to reach out to each and every one of the masses in this way. So you see, advertising makes this task efficient, right? I never thought of it this way, but what we also know is that advertisers brag about themselves and overtalk and mislead the people, make promises and not keep them, and in this way fool the users. Well, let me explain things further to you. Consumers need information and need to know the features, benefits and the details of anything they want to buy. Where are they going to get that from? The consumer needs to know about the usage of products, which one is suitable for which need or requirement. How do we get this information? It's the ad that gives all this information in an organized form, thus helping the consumer in reducing his effort and meeting this need of his. Imagine if each of us were to start looking for this information on our own. How much of time and effort we would put in separately, and it is also such a waste. We are actually doing the same work again and again, or it is like a duplicating of effort, and what a waste it is. So we have this useful tool, the ad, which is consolidating all this information in an organized way and giving it to us, and we are saving a lot in terms of effort, time, energy and money. So for us as consumers, advertising is a useful tool available. So that's another use of advertising. It makes life so much easier for the consumer. It helps him analyzing and also comparing before taking a decision. In fact, some ads make this comparison or highlight the required attributes, so are a boon for the consumer. Yes, but what about ads that oversell or mislead the consumer? They are giving the information, agreed, but they tend to exaggerate and talk only good things about themselves. That's a very simplistic view that we are stating. In today's competitive world, the consumer has too many choices or options, so we find businesses and marketers use advertising in a judicious way. Yes, advertisers will talk good of themselves, but they also know that if they can't keep the promise they make in the ad, then the consumer will never come back to them, and more importantly, he or she may move over to the competitor. So if you look at it, A brand will only kill itself by doing this. So ads don't overtalk, but yes, they do try to entice and draw the attention creatively. This gets taken as trying to mislead the consumer. There are laws in place for ads, making false promises and redressal systems are available. Also, you think that the consumer is so gullible or such a moron that they get taken in so easily? So you see that advertisers are careful with what they say in their messages. Ads are useful to the consumer in another way also. What we see is that information about a brand will draw people to it, and the demand and market for it will expand or increasing sales at times. By informing and communicating with people, the ads help in expanding the market for the brand or the product. This expansion helps the brand to reap economies of scale in production and distribution, and this benefit gets passed on to the consumer, that is you and me. So we find that advertising actually lowers the prices of goods as it encourages mass production and distribution. There is usually a perception that advertising adds to the cost or the price of a product, but actually this is wrong. The increased demand creates economies of scale as just discussed, and this actually reduces the overall price. Related to this is another aspect, and that is to do with preventing monopolies in the market and not letting anyone get total control of prices, quality and distribution. Advertising and the facility it gives to businesses or ideas to announce themselves encourages people to think differently, innovate and come into the market. There is a confidence in every newcomer that they can reach out to the consumer and convince them of the new idea and they succeed in establishing their business. So we find that it is because of advertising that new businesses are encouraged. The facility of advertising encourages new products and new ideas. Along with this, what also happens is that no one person or business is allowed to control the industry. Anyone can come in and go out, and the price and quality has to be maintained and be as good as the others, else you lose the customer or business. The customer or the consumer is well informed and aware of all that is available in the market and will make his choice wisely. The end result of all this is that no monopolies can exist. Everyone has an equal chance to enter the market, so it's a free market or perfect competition, and everybody has an equal chance to succeed depending on their performance. The advantage of this goes to the consumer or customer who gets the best stuff at the best price or gets competitive goods and does not get taken for a ride. So, advertising is for business and commerce. No. So far we have discussed the commercial advertising and its effects. Advertising has its use and impact in other areas also. A lot of awareness, information and change in attitude is required for social welfare issues. Child labor, girl child, government tax information and reminders, announcements of traffic arrangements or diversions, etc. The list is long. It's advertising that serves a purpose here also. These ads are called social service or public service ads, that is PSA. Who reminds us about Polio Ravivar or tells us about HIV? Advertising is a very important tool for social marketing. Here, we are trying to market a concept or idea in just the same way that we market any brand or product. Ads, of course. Can you think of a more efficient means of communicating this information other than using the mass media or through ads? So that's another role and use of ads. Another aspect which again translates into a benefit for us and is a role that ads plays in the world today is that advertising gives media the financial support to function. Really, that is a big thing, and how is it done? Well, where do the finances for running a newspaper or a TV channel come from? We buy the paper, or we pay a subscription for a channel, or maybe the government gives them money to function. Well, that's partly correct. Yes, this does contribute to the finances of the media business, but this is not enough to fund the entire running costs. What actually happens is that the cost of ads or the money charged to the advertisers contributes majorly to meet the costs of the media functioning. It's advertising that gives the media the financial support for its day-to-day working. That is why there is so much of emphasis on increasing the reach of a channel or a newspaper, because more the number of people reading a paper or watching a channel, more is the interest of the advertiser to advertise here, and higher is the rate of advertising that can be charged. This is how revenue gets generated. Now you can understand why the concept of TRPs, circulation, readership, listenership is important for the various media. Also, what we find is that the cost of running the media comes down as it is partly being met by the advertising revenue generated, and this benefit reaches the user or the consumer of the media. Newspapers would be costing at least 10 times their present rate if they had no advertising in them. All TV and radio channels would have a monthly subscription, or would be what we call pay channels if they were to run without any ads. Today, we pay a monthly subscription, but that is to our dish provider for its services. The channels are not getting anything from this. Their revenue comes from advertising. Today, most of them are free to air, and we benefit from that. So you see how useful advertising is for the average person or the common man. Yes, all is not so perfect with advertising, and there are issues that are of concern. These we will look at it in a discussion on legal and ethical aspects of advertising. Marketing and advertising. Advertising is very useful in the field of marketing and sales also. In fact, it is another facet we need to look into in depth. How is that? Okay, let me ask you something. How do you form an impression about a brand? How do you evaluate a brand and get to know what is its image, or what kind of a brand is it? I ask others, I use it and form an impression, and yes, I see the ads and messages, and that really influences my decision. Exactly. What we find is that advertising contributes to a large extent to form the brand image and impression. What the ad says, how it says, and where you get to see the ad all contribute to this image formation. The presentation of the message, which includes all the creativity and the theme and appeal, all tell us what the brand is about. The celebrities or endorsers used are also a way in which we form the impression. What kind of model is used, who is used, all help in describing and spelling out the brand to us. We draw our conclusions on this basis. Next, of course, where you get to see the ad is another major contributor to the brand image we form. The image and reputation of the newspaper or magazine or the TV channel tell us a lot about the brand that is advertising itself there. Mass appeal channels like Doordarshan or Aaj Tak have the mass marketed and mass produced brands advertising on them. So by merely seeing an ad on these media, we know what the brand is like. Stylish channels or magazines, newspapers tell us that the brands that are advertising here are exclusive, luxury or high-class brands. The brand image or impression goes a long way in building the brand on a long-term basis, and thus we see that advertising is a major contributor to that. So that's another plus point of advertising. How does advertising fit into the whole business of marketing and sales? Okay, let's move to the next step. Marketing is the activity which understands the needs and wants of the consumer and then tries to satisfy them. For this, we need to strategize using the 4x7 P's of marketing. One aspect of this is the P of promotion. All activities that work towards promoting the product or brand or idea. This includes communicating and informing about it, getting people to try or sample it, and other activities for building the brand and its image. The most important activity amongst this is the advertising. This is the most important part of promotion in marketing. Advertising is used to introduce or launch a brand or idea, create awareness about it, educate and explain the features and benefits of it, inform about new features or changes, change existing mindsets, thoughts or misconceptions. All kinds of marketing communication makes use of advertising as a major tool. Advertising is used when something new is to be launched. We need to make people aware and inform them of the new product, brand or idea. Then we need to explain the features, benefits or attributes. We may need to also tell them about how we are different or superior to others, where the thing is available, how to try or test is out, who is the manufacturer, what are the advantages or disadvantages, what kind of guarantees and assurances are there. All these issues in marketing are dealt with through communication, and that's where advertising plays a pivotal role. In fact, this quote sums it all up. Doing business without advertising is like winking at a girl in the dark. You know what you are doing, but nobody else does. So, now let's look at this nobody else. Who is important for our business, and that is the consumer. Now let's look at this issue advertising from the eyes of the consumer. We have already discussed about how advertising is useful to the consumer, so let's not repeat that, but look at other things relating the consumer and advertising. An important thing we see is that the consumer needs information and details which the communication provides. Based on this, the consumer gets convinced and makes his choices or selects from the many options available. Some tool is needed to persuade and convince the consumer, and this is what advertising is and does. Marketing identifies the needs and wants of the consumer, and then to reach out and fit into the consumer's life, it is advertising that comes into play. It helps in fitting the product being marketed to the consumer and his requirements. Yes, advertising may sell an image or a dream and create a world of imagination at times, but we must remember even that is a kind of need or aspiration of the consumer that exists, and we are trying only to fulfill it. People who want fantasy get it. Others who are practical get that. Anyone who wants to dream is made to do so, while someone who wants reality is given that. This is where we are able to see that advertising improves the living standards and lifestyles of the consumer as per his requirements. It provides the information and necessary inputs for consumers to obtain better things and choose wisely, thus improving their living. In fact, this is where we come to the concept of latent needs. Needs that exist but are hidden or not really identified. Advertisers discover these and then help the consumer to understand, fulfill them. At times, we would say that advertising helps the consumer to discover himself, identify his own needs and then fulfill them. Advertising reveals a whole new world to the consumer which the consumer was looking for but was not really able to pinpoint or identify. It's advertising that leads him through a journey of self-discovery. Along with this, advertising reveals to the consumer what is there in this world or market that can fulfill and complete his requirements. Advertising addresses these latent needs, be it in terms of brands or products or in ideas, concepts and services. No wonder advertisers are known as hidden persuaders. Yes, you have got it right. Now we are closer to understanding advertising. So, in today's session, we have looked at the useful of advertising to the economy and the market and the consumer, and also understood after critical analysis and discussion how advertising is an important tool for marketing and business. That is all for today's episode. We'll see you soon with another topic. Till then, take care and goodbye.
Thank you.